Did I scare you? In the spirit of Halloween approaching, let's talk about the top 10 scary Halloween stories that are true. I'm your host Makayla, and make sure to subscribe because our channel is the best, right? Starting off this countdown at number 10, the real-life Freddy Krueger. To anyone that's seen the horror movie, you know who Freddy is. But for those of you who haven't, Freddy Krueger is a fictional character in the A Nightmare on Elm Street film series. He in A Nightmare on Elm Street as a spirit of a child executioner who's been burned till he passed away by his victims' parents after evading prison. Krueger goes on to take the lives of his victims in their dreams, causing their passing in the real-life world as well. In the dream world, he is a powerful force and seemingly invulnerable. However, whenever Freddy is pulled back into the real world, he has normal human vulnerabilities and can be destroyed. However, this point is anything but fictional, unlike the movie series. A man showed up at a Halloween party without an invite in a Freddy Krueger costume, and to everyone at the party he looked like just a normal person in a costume. In San Antonio, Texas, back in 2016, the man opened fire with a gun on the crowd, taking the lives of 5 people and injuring many others. Number 9, wrong place, wrong time. Like any normal teenager on Halloween, you usually go out to attend a Halloween party instead of trick-or-treating. Although I still trick-or-treated till I was like 18, but that's besides the point. 27 years ago, a 16-year-old Japanese exchange student had dressed up as John Travolta's character from Saturday Night Fever, then headed to a Halloween party in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Tragically, he was mistakenly dropped off at the wrong house.
Hattori and his homestay brother, 16-year-old Webb Haymaker, were heading to a Halloween party for Japanese exchange students when they arrived at the wrong house due to 2 numbers being switched on the address they were.
And the homeowner, panicked by this unexpected visitor, shot and ended his life. The homeowner was later cleared of any wrongdoing. I, however, think they shouldn't have been cleared. I'm not going to get into this topic for the sake of the video, but gun control needs to be better in the United States. His mother had later commented on the 20th anniversary of her son's passing, quote, "I've been observing American society for the past 20 years. The ongoing situation there has been incomprehensible to Japanese. I want to encourage more ways to adopt gun control."
He then mistook a camera Hattori was holding in his hand as a gun or other weapon. From 5 feet away, Mr. Pierce shot Hattori on the left side of his chest before running back inside and slamming the door behind him. The bullet had pierced the upper and lower lobes of Hattori's left lung and exited around his rib cage. Haymaker and a neighbor did their best to resuscitate the 16-year-old exchange student, but Yoshihiro Hattori died from blood loss just minutes later.
Number 8, not a prank. On Halloween night, it's expected you'll probably see some kind of Halloween prank. Smashed pumpkins, toilet paper on houses, and more. Well, this one is something everyone thought was a Halloween prank, but was certainly not. One night in Long Island, just before Halloween 2014, a headless body laid in the street just 5 feet away from Malone Head. To many people passing by, the horrific sight at first appeared to be a Halloween prank, but the truth was far more disturbing. 35-year-old Derek Ward had used a kitchen knife to take the life of and decapitate his mother, Patricia. He then carried the body and the head out of their apartment. After leaving the body and head in the street, Ward jumped in front of a commuter train, taking his own life. Number 7, Hayride. In 1990, Chicago area teenager Brian Jules' job was to give Hayride customers a scare by pretending to hang from the gallows. Jewel had pulled off the stunt just fine earlier in the day, and had also pulled it off multiple times throughout that week. But on the night of Halloween, something went terribly wrong. When the Hayride approached Jewel, who was hanging from the gallows with his feet touching the ground, was waiting to scare them, when suddenly the tractor driver began to worry. The driver's worries only grew when Jewel failed to deliver his usual speech. According to the prosecutor, there were no signs of foul play. However, he did unfortunately lose his life by accidentally hanging himself for real. Number 6, Beach Riot. In 1945, teenagers in Canada spent Halloween night rioting and building large bonfires that they soaked with gasoline. When police descended upon the scene, the teenagers fought back, throwing rocks and blocking the fire department from putting out the fires. Soon, police arrested 14 of the rioters, but instead of calming things, this led to a mob of thousands of teenagers gathering in protest. The teenagers only calmed down after being doused with water cannons and tear gas. The insane happening of this uprising is unknown. People, however, have theorized it might have been the acts of a teen cult that does rituals on Halloween night. Number 5, poison candy. In 1974, 8-year-old Timothy O'Brien passed on Halloween evening after eating candy that was reportedly laced with cyanide. But the story has an even more horrific twist. It turned out the candy was poisoned by Timmy's father, Ronald, who was in financial trouble and had taken out insurance policies on his children. In addition to Timmy, Ronald O'Brien gave poison candy to their 4 other children, including his daughter Elizabeth. Elizabeth. Thankfully, none of them ate it. O'Brien was then later executed by lethal injection in 1984. I mean, these were your children, and you did that to one of them and tried to do it to the rest of them just for money. The story is also rumored to be the origin story of the infamous Candyman. Number 4, non-friendly trick-or-treater. In 1982, 69-year-old Marvin Brandland was getting ready for bed after a night of handing out Halloween candy when there was one more very ominous knock at his door. Marvin opened the door to find someone wearing a pillowcase over their head with holes cut out for eyes. The figure said, quote, "Trick or treat, give me your money or I'll shoot." He then pulled out a gun and ordered Marvin into his basement where Marvin kept a safe. Marvin, figuring this was a prank since only close family members knew about the safe, grabbed for the gun. The person in the pillowcase fired, hitting Brandland in the throat, ending his life. The executioner fled, leaving behind the pillowcase they wore for the scene of the crime. In 2010, the pillowcase was tested for DNA, but there wasn't enough DNA on it to make a match, so the truth behind this passing of who really did it remains a mystery. Number 3, Halloween show gone wrong. Have you ever wanted to spend Halloween night watching one of those cool, spooky Halloween shows, kind of like the ones at Canada's Wonderland? Well, that's similar to the idea these people had. In 1963, tons decided to spend Halloween night at an Indiana State Fairgrounds Coliseum, watching a holiday on ice skating expedition. But what they didn't know was that a rusty tank in the concession area had begun to leak gas. The room, which lacked ventilation, quickly filled with gas. As the skater performed their grand finale, the gas had unfortunately reached an electric popcorn maker, triggering a huge explosion. 74 lives were then sadly taken, and had left nearly 400 people injured. Number 2, family horror. On Halloween in 1984, 8-year-old Brian Massey should have been enjoying a night of trick-or-treating with his sisters, Tiffany, who is 11, and Tamara, who is 10. Instead, he was subjected to a real-life horror film when his new stepfather, 26-year-old David Andrews, stabbed his mother till she passed away before chasing his sisters down the hall and taking their lives as well. Andrews then came into Massey's room, covered in blood, and kidnapped the boy. 2 days later, police found Massey alive after apprehending Andrews, who had tried and failed to take his own life. Disturbingly, Andrews struck a plea deal in exchange for a reduction of charges, and in 2017 he was let out on parole, to which Massey tried to convince them not to, but they did anyway. Now, finally coming in at number 1, not a Halloween decoration. In 2005, a 42-year-old woman in Delaware took her own life by hanging herself from a tree across the street from a residential area. Though the body was easily visible to people walking on the sidewalk and passing vehicles, no one called the police or any kind of emergency services for hours. Why, you may ask? Well, they assumed the woman swaying in the wind was a Halloween decoration. This one is just absolutely horrible. First of all, this poor woman, and second, imagine you were one of the kids trick-or-treating around your seemingly normal neighborhood when you see a weird-looking Halloween decoration, and then you go home later to find out it wasn't a Halloween decoration at all. But that is all. If you like this video, make sure to let us know in the comments what you're dressing up as for Halloween this year, and we will see you next time.